Live. Let's make sure that's actually the case. Over on Rumble, of course, actually going live a little bit early today. When people say that I'm late, it's interesting. Normally I go live at 11 Eastern. It's 10:53 Eastern at the moment, so that's not late exactly. Just saying. First and foremost, we're going to get to our sponsors. I've realized that several of the sponsors want me to do this before I go into the rest of the video. Works for me. First and foremost, we have, of course, cultivated-mind.com, where you can get Doggy Dose for your doggo, your pupper. I believe it's available now. This is sort of prototype blend, but I think it's online now. And also, mushroom pills. You can get some radiant energy. This is the one that I think I like best, although I've got Immune Renew, and some others. And we've got BillongUSA.com. By the way, use code STICKS on all of these sites, and you can generally get a discount. Biltong, yes, Anton can set you up with some sweet, sweet meat. He's got Wagyu, he's got bison, he's got game meat, he's got Cabanassi, he's got Angus, he's got pretty much everything. And since we're mentioning him, of course, we have to take our daily fingerful of Bovrite. Sometimes I do this 3 or 4 times a day because it's delicious, but, you know, we have to do it at least once. The South Africans managed to perfect this, just as apparently they perfected the processing of meat, by the way. And also there are Stick, Sex, and Hammer mugs available there as well. You can get these guys, and they're useful for your daily coffee, which should come from jamandbean.com. Yes, indeed, jamnbean.com. And fuck, the coffee container is not actually here. I don't know where I put it. Oh, that's right, I dipped into it last night because I ran out of the other container. How sad. I would show you the product, but they've got Clank Blend coffee. It's the official Styx Hexen coffee, as well as a bunch of teas and other coffee blends as well. Last week in sweet, sweet meat. Yeah, there was a Mad TV show one time, and it was Will Sasso as Elvis, actually. And he was talking about how one of the lobsters that he was having with his friend at a barbecue was actually Richard Nixon. And then he wrestled Richard Nixon to the ground and threw him in the pot, and then he cracked open his giant pincher claws, and everyone ate the sweet, sweet hand meat. And I've always thought that was hilarious, since I was a little kid when I first saw it. So I like to say sweet, sweet meat. What do Styx fans with a lisp say? Quank. Oh, God. We're going to end up with a litany of jokes about the channel as well. Anyway, first, let's talk about the big black sassy lady on Times Square. Times Square touts new statue of 12-foot-tall black woman as stark contrast to statues of white men. And, of course, the pose that they use, I'm better than you. You need to bow down, white boy. That's basically what this statue represents. You might as well title this statue Sassy PR Lady or something like that. The Times Square website contrasted the new statue with the two that have stood for decades, summarizing them as both white, both men. What's the problem with that? Do you have a problem with white males? Oh, this is a rhetorical question, by the way. Yeah, so we needed to have equal representation. Why did you depict this black lady in the sassy, holier-than-thou pose and make her obese? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you really think about it. If anything, I support the erection, I always do, of this statue, because it shows the stupidity of the far left. And that's really what this is here. She's got her, like, tits protruding through her statue shirt. In the holier-than-thou, I'm going to talk down to you in a minute pose. Right in Times Square, the literal den of iniquity, just to contrapose the existence of white males in that space. What more of a perfect metaphor can you have for what the left has devolved into. I don't think I can think of one. I think this is perfect. It's sort of like the little girl statue there, facing off against the bull. Okay, so the leftoids have erected a statue of a defiant little girl who doesn't want the economy to grow because that's literally the symbolism that was inclined in the first place. Okay, well, yes, again, the leftists are actually very apt when they erect statues like this, because they're always self-satirizing when you understand symbolism. If you've got any intelligence at all, you can tell there's a contraposition in mind. So the old white dudes represent, hey, we're doing banking and business and shit like that. Now the sassy black lady comes along, towers over them, guffaws at them and says, oh, no, you didn't. You ain't doing no business no more. It's literally racist. It's like a goddamn minstrel show, too. That's the fucking funny part. La Quifa, yeah. By the way, how much did that statue cost? I don't even 100% know. I'm seeing different values given. Can anyone give me like a definitive answer? How much did the statue cost that they erected in Times Square? Which doesn't even look good, is self-satirical, doesn't make any goddamn sense at all. I don't know. At this point, they're just trolling, I suppose. Scott Steiner, POTUS, just announced a new trade deal with the UK. Details are being finalized. We'll be talking about that. The UK agreed to let in more American products in exchange for us buying more of their luxury things. Reciprocal trade. Good. Sounds good to me. Yeah, I don't really care what statues are erected. I only ask that statues not be torn down. Like, I wouldn't lift a finger to tear down this statue because it's the perfect self-satire of the left. All right. We got too many white boys over here making money for our country. We'll send in the HR lady, and she can lecture them about inclusion and stuff like that, and prevent them from doing their jobs by repeatedly taking them off the job to give them the same lectures. Yeah, put her on Mount Rushmore. I would actually support that. Sassy black lady on Mount Rushmore. Hey, here's what our country used to be about. Liberty, progress, technology, stuff like that. This is what our country is about right now. Sassing people for their lack of inclusionary policies or their lack of diversity. How dare you be a straight white male? How dare you? Especially if you're a Christian or a pagan, by the way. Mount Twerkmore. Yeah, the jokes write themselves at this point. The left has gone completely insane. This statue should not have been commissioned. It should not have been placed there. And even a lot of the liberals are saying, why? What the hell is the purpose? Mount, oh no, you didn't. Yeah, I mean, I was looking at this story the other day, and I was like, I should have included in yesterday's live stream, actually, but I already had a full docket, so I decided to move it to today. Because it's not really heavy-hitting news or anything like that, it's just a symbol of the degradation of the left to the level of depravity where they're almost like mollusk-like in their self-awareness state. So, like, they know that they exist, but they can't really do anything about it because they're just too fucking stupid. You're erecting a statue of the sassy black lady that everyone had to deal with at the office the other day in the middle of a financial district in one of the biggest cities in the world. You might as well, again, you should, like, entitle it Mount Sassmore or something like that. The Colossus of Chodes or something like that. Yeah, because basically, this is the sort of thing. Oh no, you didn't. That's literally what the statue looks like, too. You should see a picture of it. Link in the description, archived, of course. Yeah, I think that the statue should be melted down, and you should just make a statue of a big middle finger or something like that. That would be more prosaic. It would make more sense. It's like basically, you know, our nation has decided to commit suicide, so just fuck it. Yep, and they made the statue obese. So it wasn't enough to have it of a black lady. They had to make it very stereotypical. Obese, tits basically protruding through the shirt, nipple and all, no bra on, clearly, and so forth. It's like you've made a minstrel-like stereotype in trying to empower a certain community of people simply because there were statues of white males in the general vicinity. Aren't we allowed to have anything nice anymore? Apparently not. I'm going to make a statue. It's going to be a giant 20-foot tall dick. That's all it's going to be. And I'm going to make up some fictional story about what it represents to me as an artiste. And then I will challenge them to try to remove it. No, this represents the ancient, like, phallic tradition and or some shit like this. It represents the power of the state and its contraposition because the state is a dick or something like that. Sir Thomas Drake needs a big N-word etched onto it. Yeah, try defacing that statue, you'll get hate crime charges. And get 10 years in prison, probably. That's the thing, if you were to knock the head off of one of the white male statues, you would get misdemeanor charges. Well, this is vandalism. You know, it's destruction of public property. If you deface the black lady statue, even in a topical, easily washed off manner, then you will get felony charges for hate crimes. Isn't that interesting how that works? I've become more and more of a noticer. I don't even dislike the statue. I mean, at the very least, it looks realistic. You know, that's more than we can say for some of the abstract modern art bullshit that we see. But I mean, it's completely unnecessary and clearly politically pointed. By the way, Pakistan and India continue to fight. And this is unheralded, actually, in recent times. Most of the time, if India and Pakistan and or China, because they all claim areas of Kashmir, when they get into it over this particularly economically valuable region, most of the time it's like they fired a couple of warning shots, they yelled at each other, a few people crossed over the highly disputed border, and they attacked each other, but, you know, maybe one person died and a couple were injured, and that's pretty much the limitations of it. This time we've had several waves of fighting in a row. First, we had the terrorist attack in India. India blamed Pakistan. So they began firing missiles into Pakistan and ran sorties around the Kashmiri region and bombed targets. Pakistan is now responding by shelling. They also downed at least one Indian fighter jet. Now India has gone on round two, and they've sent a bunch of attack drones in, some of which were, again, downed by Pakistan, and Pakistan began shelling the general region on the other side of the border. This is a considerable escalation, and as I pointed out in my morning video, it is, ironically, very much like a nuclear weapon. Most people don't know this, but a nuclear weapon has multiple safeguards in place to keep it from blowing up. That's necessary because you don't really want it blowing up on your own territory. That's not really generally the point. This happened in the Carolinas when the B-52 accidentally dropped a 3-megaton weapon and all but one safeguard managed to fail. Therefore, thankfully, it did not blow up. And they managed to recover it. I think that was classified info for a number of years until they told the public what exactly had happened. Whoops, yeah, well, we're sorry that we almost killed 1 million people. You know, our bad. It was a mistake. Good song, It's a Mistake, by Men at Work, by the way, from the 80s. 1983, if I remember correctly. Anyway, the same is true of this situation. At any given moment in time, you need to have a number of safeguards fail in order for there to be a total disaster. The first safeguard has already fallen. They're already effectively at war. The second safeguard is diplomacy. It appears to be a little bit on the wonky side. The third safeguard is direct foreign involvement to try to stop it. And the fourth safeguard is, hey, the dude that was supposed to press the little red button decided not to do so or was already dead. That's basically your safeguards with regards to Pakistan and India at this point. The first safeguard's already down. We've not had this happen in living memory, by the way. All the other border skirmishes, they were easily smoothed over. You didn't have the kind of rhetoric from the Indian and Pakistani governments, especially their defense ministers, that you have currently. You didn't have this level of fighting. You weren't running sorties and firing off shells and things like that. This didn't happen before. It was just basic bitch border skirmishes. And then there's another compounding problem. The Chinese could very easily get involved. And Russia understands this, by the way. That's why Vladimir Putin came out the other day and said, we're directly talking to these parties. Because apparently, U.S. involvement is not sufficient. But if the U.S. and Russia get involved at the same time and say, cut it out, hopefully cooler heads prevail. CP Redling, yeah, excellent song. It's a mistake. And by the way, the music video for that was pretty good too. CJ, I hope this proves to all the dumbasses that there's no such thing as nuclear bombs. Well, they do actually exist. It is possible. If enough material of a refined nature is compounded in a certain way, it is capable of spontaneously exploding. We can also create neutron bombs and other things as well. None of these things, by the way, are particularly good for the world. Just saying, what we call background radiation at a low level might not have existed at the same rate before nuclear testing began. I'm pretty sure that it was lower beforehand. CJ, yes, if Tesla claimed that nuclear weapons could not be created, he was wrong. Otherwise, how do you explain nuclear energy generation? It's a controlled reaction. Nothing more and nothing less. By the way, we're on day 2 of the Papal Conclave. I'm not a Catholic, so I don't really care who they choose as Pope. By the way, my dad trolled me earlier this morning, and he said, well, they just chose the first black, openly gay Pope. And you know, because it's the Catholic Church, at first I believed it, and then he was laughing about that. No, I predict that it will be someone who is morally more conservative than the last Pope, but who is also charismatic and tech literate. And that's because the Catholic Church has been established to make money. Nothing more. It's not even a religious edifice, it's a business at this point. And so, because they're taking the read of the room, what they want is someone who can appease the Vatican II sort of conservative Catholics, at the same time as being able to do like youth outreach and stuff like that. It'll probably be somebody who's a little bit younger as well. Sir Thomas Drake, missed my last rant. Oh, I'm sorry. They put up one of these sassy mammy statues in Italy also. Look it up. Doesn't surprise me in the least. Yeah. Yeah, the statue story is interesting. It's just, it's not technically newsworthy. It's like, I don't care what kind of ugly statue you want to erect. This one's actually better than a lot of the other leftoid statues that have gone up, so even though it's the sassy PR lady, honestly, I can't find myself giving a damn. The only exception is the fact that they're just contraposing this with, oh, the old white dudes that are over there. Again, take a sledgehammer and bash one of those old white dudes in the head, and literally take the head off the statue. Well, vandalism, minor charge, you get a fine or something like that. Now, go over with a blowtorch and melt the sassy black lady's belly open or something like that. Hate crime charge, felony, 10 plus years in prison. There is a monstrous difference between the charges that you will face for those two very similar acts. Yeah, no, Clem, also PR lady. Like, you look at who does PR for the Church of Satan, Peggy Nadramia at last check. Most acerbic and disturbing individual I've ever talked to, so, yeah. No, they can be similar. Delicious goat meal. Blowtorch is a good way to lose weight. Yeah, I mean, in the statue's case, certainly. I mean, it doesn't even really make sense that they erected the statue. I don't know what they hope to achieve by it. Let's spend millions of dollars putting up a statue that will piss off half the population and cause the other half to shake its heads because they won't even understand that we're basically engaging in minstrelsy. That makes a lot of sense. Yep, we've got the Papal Conclave. We're waiting to see who the next authoritarian dictator of the Vatican City will be, and the next leader of the handful of Catholics that actually still take the church seriously, I suppose. They are declining power in the world, and I'll tell you why. Because the Catholic Church has steadily tried to navigate mafia style through economic and socio-political situations, and always tries to be on the side that wins. But oftentimes it makes a mistake, and its end ends up on the side that loses. Look at the Catholic Church's general appeasement of the Nazi Party, for example. Well, that didn't work out so well. Did elements of the Catholic Church engage in trying to shuttle people away from concentration camp-ism and stuff like that? Yes, of course. That's great. Did the Catholic Church, on paper at least, generally appease Adolf Hitler and the Soviets later on? Yes, it did. The Catholic Church has found itself on the wrong side of history too often. They are a dying religion. It will die. There will be no more Catholicism. It will die. And it will be better for the world when it does. Not that it really improves the world, because it will just be replaced by some other form of ritualism. People love the ritualism. Copium Poppies, Part 1. As Styx already is aware, we have a GoFundMe to free one of our band members from debt slavery, and we have made a challenge that if we reach or exceed our goal of 200K by June 8th, we will commit to releasing a track where the lyrics consist entirely of N-bombs and other slurs. And if we don't release it before this time next year, 5/8/26, we'll refund all proceeds. Sounds fun to me. I want an N-word song. Just make sure it has a good bass beat, you know? That's all that I ask. Money Drip. FBI officially opens criminal investigation into Letitia James. Yeah, I mean, that's good, but do you really expect the FBI, unless fully cleansed, to do anything about it? They'll end up dropping the charges. Or they'll give her a slap on the wrist or something like that. That's probably what will happen. I mean, it's Letitia James. Orange Man bad! You're not allowed to prosecute anyone who tried to abuse Orange Man because he's purely evil. Bank of England hopes the forthcoming US-UK trade deal will be the first of many for countries. Yes, it's interesting. I was thinking about this earlier. Supposedly, Donald Trump is alienating all of our allies. Oh, we'll be made pariahs. We'll be shut out of the world economy. Oh, here comes a trade deal with the UK, which is embraced by both the financial and political structure there, even though their government is left-leaning. This is a good sign, by the way. I agree that we should have trade deals with other countries, preferably favorable to all parties. So, for instance, you have one resource that we need, we have a resource that you need, so we do a non-tariff sort of thing. Stuff like that. and then goods are shuttled around more easily. By the way, China is the one that's actually getting shuttered out of the world economy. Because of the US trade war against China, apparently they're only exporting like half as much shit to the United States. But this was the whole point. The whole point was to grow domestic production. Well, if China is priced out of the economy, you have an incentive to make it locally if you're capable of doing so. Kind of depends on the good or service that you're actually goods or servicing, by the way. Taco Woman Sandy Ravage Sticks. Look up meth pipe raccoon. Okay. Meth pipe raccoon. Jesus. What have I done with my life? Ohio police find raccoon holding meth pipe during traffic stop. What? When an officer took the pipe away, the raccoon pulled out another. After an Ohio woman was placed under arrest during a traffic stop Monday, an officer returned to the vehicle to find the driver's seat occupied by a pet raccoon with a glass methamphetamine pipe in its mouth, police said. The raccoon has her meth pipe, an officer is heard saying with a laugh on body cam video. That's evidence now. When the officer took the pipe away, the raccoon pulled out another. While our officers are trained to expect the unexpected, finding a raccoon holding a meth pipe is a first, the Springfield Township Police Department said in a social media post. The raccoon, named Chewy, was unharmed. Officers confirmed that the driver had the proper paperwork and documentation to own the raccoon in Ohio, where domestication is legal. The incident led officers to further inspect the vehicle, and they found a bulk amount of methamphetamine, crack cocaine, and 3 used methamphetamine pipes, according to the department. The vehicle had been pulled over after its registered owner was found to have an active warrant and suspended driver's license. Victoria Vidal, a 55-year-old from Akron, was charged with 3 counts of possession of drug paraphernalia and cited for driving under suspension. You're probably going to face additional charges. Honestly, considering how funny this is, though, if I was the judge in the case, I would give a very, very lenient plea deal, and I would say, okay, you're going to rehab, and you're paying a fine. Stop giving your raccoon methamphetamine. Jesus Christ. Copium Poppies. Also, if Styx continues helping us promote this GoFundMe and it is successful, we will give him a guest vocal spot on the song so he can sing slurs with us too. I'm sure that a lot of people would like me to utter the hard R. If this were a Rumble-only stream, I could already do it. In fact, I think I did that on one occasion on a BitChute exclusive. Sean von Sexron, to think I'd kissed the lips that suck him off time and time again. Is that a Copium Poppy song reference? An allusion to something I've done? Or an act, like a song like on the radio? It's enough to make a man throw up. Sure is hard to figure. I have absolutely no clue what you're referring to, my man. Lord George, you ain't a pirate if you don't say it. I think I already have. I mean, in person, I say it fairly constantly. I have no problem with black people, but I also have no problem with humor. And I find, here's the weird, again, contraposition enters the human psychology regularly. The contraposition is this. Most of the people that are making racial jokes are the least racist people. They're doing it specifically to mock racism more than anything else. Like, when somebody who's black says, like, white men can't jump, mayonnaise on every sandwich and stuff, and then howls laughter at it, it's understood. The reason why it's funny is it's hyperbolic. That's the whole reason that it's funny, because you know that it's not actually true. So if I make jokes about watermelon and fried chicken and, collard greens, other than Kamala Harris, it's generally inapplicable. It's hilarious. Spike, I hear the hard R pays well these days. You can also say just basketball Americans, you know. The Dashing Rogue is Stolas by. Also, would you recommend The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy? P.S. Eris is a cute bird. I've never seen Billy and Mandy, so I don't know what that is. Yes, Stolas is indeed just rapacious. I'm assuming you mean the Hell of a Boss version. He's clearly bi. And it's funny. There are a bunch of apologists for his former wife, actually, as part of the canonical line of the series, trying to make apologies for her, even though she was consistently psychologically abusive. And blaming her for her actions towards Stolas in this. We're talking about the series right now. Has-Been Hotel crossover not included. They're blaming Stolas, actually, for being distant and so forth. And saying, well, you know, Stella was forced into marriage and but the thing is, even before she was forced into marriage, she was already a bitch. She was already completely insane. She was already vindictive and arguably incestuous with her brother Andrialphus, actually. I don't know. Eric Basil, my mom showed Dak her titties when she was alive. All right. Okie dokie. No comment. Federal judge blocks Trump admin from dismantling 3 agencies. Judge McConnell previously blocked Trump from implementing a federal funding freeze. Now, these are agencies that I didn't even know existed, and probably 99% of you have never heard of either. Nearly 24 Democratic-led states sued to stop Trump from closing the Institute of Museum and Library Services, or IMLS, the Minority Business Development Agency, MBDA, and the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service, FMCS. U.S. District Judge John McConnell, an appointee of former President Barack Obama, what a big surprise, sided with the states on Tuesday, affirming their arguments that the closings violated the separation of powers. So in other words, the chief executive is not capable of closing sub-agencies of literally no sum and substance, which are just getting in the way simply because Congress has to act. That's basically what he's arguing. Oh, he doesn't have the authority to do that. It disregards the fundamental constitutional role of each of the branches of our federal government. One that McConnell and other judges, by the way, are explicitly ignoring at the moment, including with this case, I would point out. Specifically, it ignores the unshakable principles that Congress makes the law and appropriates funds, and the executive implements the law. Congress enacted and spends the funds Congress appropriated, McConnell wrote. Interesting, because in some cases, Congress has tried to stay in the way of reappropriated funds altogether. Just look at the border wall for an example. Apparently, that makes sense. I have no clue what these bureaus do. Museum and library services. Okay, so I guess they oversee museums and libraries. Maybe they do something. Not exactly sure. Minority Business Development Agency. So we've got a federal agency that we're propping up that is specifically for anyone who's not white and male. That's great! Great news! I'm so happy to hear that. Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service. I couldn't tell you in a million years what the hell they do. This is what you get in, Soviet land. This is what you get in dystopia. Dab Shank the First. My friend refers to the BLX as Mondays because no one likes Mondays. Lol. Oh, God. Copium Poppies. Everyone else's, N-word. I know you were, so am I. I wasn't born with enough middle fingers. I don't need to choose a side. Manson. Rumble is free speech. Lol. Can't even say slurs. S.C. Woods. Nothing like a raccoon on meth. Yeah, thanks for that story, by the way. I'm just imagining how funny it would have been to be the arrest. If I was the arresting officer, I would have just put her in the drunk tank, not even charged her with anything, and said, "This is too funny. You've given me too many laughs." So I would silently agree with my partner. I'm like, okay, look, she's strong, we'll put her in the drunk tank and tell her to knock it off, and we'll just get rid of these drugs. Yeah. No, I wouldn't actually do that. I would never use methamphetamine or crack or any other hard drug. The unintended. Hey, Sticks, could you please explain how the media does a lie by structure and a lie by omission? I'd like to be informed better so I can see it. Thank you, Captain Jack Sparrow. Arr, matey. So it be, I will explain it. Here's how they do lie by structure. The first few paragraphs of the article are what 99% of the people that confer to the article actually read. They don't read the entire thing, whether it's on their phone or whether it's on desktop, like I tend to use, or anything else. They only read the first few, in many cases, sentences or a tweet. So what you do is you bury the inconvenient truth that you don't want them to absorb down in the article, preferably towards like the 2/3 mark or something like that. In so doing, you ensure that the average person doesn't actually understand that truth at all. So that's lie by structure. Lie by omission is when you simply omit something that would be pertinent to a story or don't talk about it at all. So, for example, you would say something was said politically. Somebody gave a soaring speech, but you don't like that politician, so you simply don't cover it at all. Or you fixate on, any criticism that you can possibly have, and you omit the general context of the speech in your analysis thereof. These two things, once you realize that it's happening, you will see it literally every day. All you have to do is take a casual stroll through the legacy media. You will see it all the time. You'll even see this with independent commentators. I've seen it before from people who cover news and politics. They limit the information that they're intaking, therefore the output is also limited. In some cases, it's not even malevolence. I mean, there are only 24 hours in a day. Unless you have a beefy staff and stuff like that, it's going to be hard to collate things. But then you're filtering the information even further, so that can become a problem as well. Maybe they have a bias. It's impossible we can't even really say the news at this point. It's impossible for it to actually be real. It's not possible to have unbiased news. What we need to do is simply acknowledge the bias and then analyze things, but not everyone has the time or the will to do so. One tall order. Sticks, have you seen the new state EV pickup truck? I know your feelings on EVs, but this seems like a good thing. Made in America, under $20K to start, after Fed EV incentives. Well, I guess it could do worse. It has no infotainment screen, no paint, honest to God, no crank windows. Promised to be here by late 2026 and has partial Bezos backing, so shouldn't be vaporware, hopefully. I hope it succeeds and starts a trend of return to sanity in the vehicle market. No more $80,000 commuter cars. That I can get behind, so yeah, I mean, if it's less than 20K, that sounds pretty good. Virtual Face World. Alright, everyone, now it's time to talk about clankers.net. Lincoln de-encryption archives, of course. We created a social network for clankers, clanker.net. Join USI already. Met one clanker. Bristolian. In a picture from a Bogart movie, in a country where they turn back time, Styx comes strolling down Bourbon Street like Peter Lorre contemplating a crime. Just saying. I guess. Let's eat some Marmite today as well. I don't know. I just enjoy doing this. It's fun. The Marmite, I believe, if I remember correctly, was less salty anyway. More gelatinous. Yeah, it's a little bit less salty. It was a different flavor. For some reason, Marmite has a little bit of a bitter afterbite, if it makes sense. The Bovrite is more heavily salty and beefy. The Vegemite, salty and yeasty. And then the Marmite, I don't know, the British, they never figured it out, I suppose. It's just got a weird aftertaste. It's bizarre. I don't understand it. Now we'll eat Vegemite. So we've eaten all three today. I just keep these over here for shits and giggles. Vegemite. I do like Vegemite. It's not as good on its own. It has a weird I don't understand how to explain it. For those of you who haven't used Vegemite, by the way. I had an Australian MRE years ago, and this is definitely better than the MRE version. It has almost like a vapor that comes off of it when you eat it, and you're sort of breathing in like Vegemite-ness, if that makes any sense. I don't know. It's actually pretty good. It's better than Marmite, that's for sure. I should eat the whole canister of it and die of a salt overdose. How the United States lost the rare earth materials war to China. Now, we're going to get into some more serious analysis here, because China is massively outstripping the United States on the development of rare earth materials and so forth. This was talked about many years ago, but back then it was mainly in the context of Central Asia, like Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, that general region. The idea was that these places may be not particularly terribly arable, and have supply issues and certainly trade line issues, but that there were a lot of resources there that could be developed, and so that the next big war probably would be fought in Central Asia. Of course, this did not happen. It's still the fuel wars. This is why Russia invaded Ukraine. They want access to the energy resources. The mineral resources are more of an interest to China. Now, I have said for over a decade, China is a paper dragon. I reiterated it literally this morning. They've literally stopped giving us economic data. There's a reason for this. Normally, if your economic data is good, you want to publish it as much as possible. Hey, our nation is kicking ass. Ha ha ha, fuck you. That's basically the point. If your economic data is particularly poor, though, then if you're an authoritarian regime, typically you silence it. We don't know what the unemployment rate in China is, for example, right now. But they have one key advantage. Because of the hefty regulations within the United States on both the extraction of raw materials, the processing of raw materials, and the shipping of processed materials, because of our regulations, it takes us 10 times longer to set up a goddamn factory network to actually utilize the vast number of resources that we ourselves have. You've got environmental regulations. You've got workers' regulations. You've got unionization. You have walkouts and pickets and stuff. This is not a problem for China. If they deem something important enough, they will simply send in the troops and say, fuck it. They will remove the person in charge and replace them. They will remove some workers and gulag them. They will do it them goddamn selves. There are advantages to having an authoritarian regime. As far as efficiency goes, as long as it's properly planned, and this is China's virtue and vice at the same time, I will explain, then, you got no problem. The virtue is that you can get things done a lot quicker and more efficiently and more cheaply. The vice is that, unfortunately, sometimes you make a mistake, like with their ghost cities and stuff like that. That's become a real problem. Some of those buildings literally just keel over before anyone can even move in. If you make a mistake, it can be very costly. And, of course, it's going to come with an element of hyper-authoritarianism. So there are things to be said for both systems. What I would prefer is a non-authoritarian system in which it's simply hyper-deregulated. If we had a true free market system, we could start extracting things now. Rich people will invest in making the factories and plowing in the mines and so forth. Get rid of some of the land regulations, the environmental regulations, the workers' protection regulations. People either sign up for the job or they don't. Get rid of the unions. Force them out. Force them to kneel. That's what you need to do. And if we can do that, we can build our economy 10 times faster. We would outstrip China within a few years. By the end of Trump's term, we'd already be light years ahead of China in virtually every capacity if we did that. China, meanwhile, does have one major problem, though. Excuse me. They have one major problem, and it appears to be unemployment, but they won't give us the data. And they have an isolated internet, so it's more difficult to actually establish how many people are there. Now, it looks like the number of employed dropped catastrophically a couple of years ago, and I can't imagine that it's actually been recovered. China. Stolian, Year of the Cat.ai, Stewart. King of Biltong, want to add more protein in your diet? Add some healthy, high-protein biltong packed with B12, creatine, iron, and zinc. Great addition to a healthy diet. Go to www.biltongusa.com. Code STICKS for 10% off. That's what I'm talking about. Have to eat some later. I'm thinking, I'm making that 7-day soup. I was thinking about straining off some of the broth and making like a separate soup with like the Wagyu in it, actually. But I'm not 100% sure. Mainly with soups, I like them vegetarian, actually. Unless it's a wonton soup. Those wontons better be filled with some good meat. But Anton does it best. Anton's got some good shit for you. Based in Roanoke, Texas, where he is apparently hassled repeatedly by the city government, which is bizarre. I would think for political reasons, I believe. That's actually bizarre in Texas, of all places. I guess it's because it's located near Dallas, I suppose. You know, if you can't even be relatively conservative in a place like Texas, then maybe humankind has really, truly lost the plot. John Hoyle, tell me about this 70 soup. Sounds good. Ingredients? Well, first I made a garden veggie. On day 2, I tomatoized it a little bit with V8, actually, and wilted in some greens and added diced pepper, and it became more like a Florentine. On day 3, I decided to make it creamy, so I added some heavy cream, and of course sauteed off some more celery and onion to renew that. And so now it's day 4. I'm not sure where I'm going to go from here. I'm thinking just add some more vegetables. I've got some dried mushrooms from Japan, actually, and those are, by the way, delicious. It doesn't need any more cream, but I'm thinking it should be a little bit more tomatoey. So I'm thinking I'm going to add a shit ton of basil, some more tomato. This time I'll use tomato paste, I think, and cook that in. And then it'll slowly become effectively a tomato soup. You can transform the soup as many times as you want. The idea of the forever soup is either you're brewing it 24/7 and simply continuously serving and adding ingredients, or every day, rather, which is what I'm doing. It's not as authentic, but it's still fun. It's an experiment. You refrigerate it, you bring it back up the next day, add whatever ingredients you need, and then simmer it down, and then serve it with some bread and stuff. I've still got plenty of that seeded sour rye bread. Oh, and by the way, it's delicious. Got it from the co-op, actually. Yeah. Sean von Sexron says, King of Biltong, fucking NIMBYists, I am unfortunately the wrong African and do not kiss the ring. Yeah. Soon we will be in Sunset, Texas, on our own land, doing our own thing, no city. I hope the location works out well for you. It's bizarre, though, that the city council or whoever down there would have a problem with you in a place like Texas. Yeah, that's very strange. I thought that liberals were welcoming to immigrants. And again, much like with Elon Musk, we have a successful African immigrant, and as a result, he is abused. because he's got the wrong shade of skin. Who is it who is truly racist at this point? I think we can probably establish that. I never dislike someone simply for being a different color of skin from me. It seems like liberals hate people that are of the same skin color of themselves, because most of them, they're white and upper middle class, it seems. Cro-Minion, the best of African American. Jeremy Martin, Vegemite is made up of bacteria waste from old beer kegs, salted to mask what it is. It's salted waste. Kind of. It's yeast remnants. I do not believe that it's still alive when it's turned into Vegemite. But, kind of. I mean, you're kind of right, yeah. Copium Poppies just made a similar offer to Melanie Mac that we made with Styx. This could hopefully be like We Are the World, except cool and with slurs. Just waiting for her to respond. Lol. Oh, Anton, we are in a very wealthy area. It does not help. Yeah, that's probably why there are more liberals around that are complaining. Odin is correct. There are no rules for soup. Yeah, I mean, with a forever soup, theoretically, over time, you can just transform it from one kind of soup to another and keep it going potentially forever. You could literally in the Great Britain, they had a soup that was going before World War II, and only recently, because of I think power outages or something, was it lost. It's like 85, 90 years old, something like that. I can't remember exactly. But it was continuously brewing the entire time. And so some of the atoms in that soup were decades old, probably, by the time they got served. Sean von Sexron. Forever soup sounds disgusting. No, it's perfectly healthy. Because either it's continuously heated, so nothing's going to come alive in there, and it's continuously served, so it's not technically the same soup, it's just adulterated over and over. Or it is refrigerated in between brewings, and then you're using the old base for the new soup. Like, I've thought maybe I should strain off the broth and start the next soup just from the broth, and the vegetables can be eaten on the side, and then I can add in new vegetables or something like that. And I can change the soup yet again. Or I can take the vegetables, add new broth of a different kind to it, take the other broth, eat that off separately, and make a new soup with the new broth. It's interesting. Lunar eclipse. Sticks, I disagree. Trump must not move on from Ukraine, Israel, nor any other conflict brewing. He needs to rein in Bibi. Israel must not conquer Gaza. I think that that's probably unavoidable, unfortunately, at this point. Health tip. Heat kills bacteria, but not the toxins it produces. Yes, that's why intermittently heating it to kill off the bacteria prevents them from creating toxins. Also, since you're eating most of the soup each day anyway, it doesn't really make a difference. Also, acidity has a tendency to suppress bacteria, hence why I decided to make it tomatoey. I make really good soup, let's put it that way. I've never had any complaints. Other people have eaten the soup. My dad tried the original soup. He said it was good. Mom tried it on day 2. She said it was good. And, yeah, I'm going to go from there. It's fun. Borscht. Yes, John Hoyle. I like borscht. I've only gotten to try it once, but I love it. Yeah, I think I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the soup next for today. Not 100% sure. I still got to go out and potentially get ingredients. I'm not sure which ones to get. I kind of want to add another red pepper to it. And I kind of want more fresh basil instead of the dried stuff. But I'm not sure beyond that what I'm going to do with it. I don't know. I have no clue. 78-day stew. Yeah, you can literally keep it going ad nauseum. And today is the perfect kind of weather for soup anyway. It's kind of dreary, a little bit drizzly. It's just the sort of day where you want a nice loaf of bread and a nice bowl of soup. So, the 420-day soup. Dabs. We'll put fucking marijuana in the soup, man. Maybe along with a little bit of that, the white powder that you got back there, man. Cheech and Chong, smoking bong. Turtle's Toy Box. I'm getting diarrhea just from hearing about this gross soup. For fuck's sake, me dude. No, it's actually delicious. In fact, I think I kind of made a bisque of sorts. I'm not exactly sure what kind of creamy, nice soup that I made, but it came out really well. CJ, you shouldn't eat crap that grows in the dirt. Enjoy your mineral deficiencies when you change to a carnivorian. Yeah, man, you can always put marijuana in the soup, man. You cook it in, it makes the colors go real good, man. Yeah, I'm not, I do not use marijuana myself, but in theory, I think you can cook it into food. It might potentiate it enough to have an effect. I'm not 100% sure. I've never done edibles at all. I have smoked weed in the past, but I've never done any of the edibles or anything like that, or the extracts, dabbing. I never touched the stuff. And I can't really use weed anyway because I overdosed that one time, so if I take more than one hit anyway, it just gives me a panic attack, so it's not really worth it. The Emperor's Champion. Western civilization created the Statue of David in Renaissance art. Woke civilization created a statue in video games that made me want to claw my eyes out. Yeah. Yeah, it's, Western civilization is bizarre. It's almost like a civilization rises and then it kills itself. Rarely do we see civilizations actually getting overrun by other civilizations. Oftentimes, when that happens, it actually becomes a net positive in the end. Most of the time, they commit suicide more than anything else. So, I do not believe the US empire is going to fall for at least another 100 years, for example. But it is showing early signs of decadence. It's showing signs of increasing weakness, decadence, non-unity, and basically a deformed culture in general. This worries me greatly. It won't affect me. I mean, I'm already middle-aged, so it's not going to affect me. It won't affect most of you. It will affect our children, and that's rather sad. Lunar eclipse. Sticks. How is it unavoidable? It's only unavoidable since U.S. foreign policy is doing AIPAC's bidding. Trump must renegotiate sufficient ceasefire. I do agree with you, absolutely. But I do believe that Israel will invade Gaza, and the reason why it's unavoidable is that there's nobody to stop them. They have nuclear weapons. As a result, basically all you can do is write a strongly worded letter, unless you want to literally go to war, and we know that the U.S. administration is not going to go to war with Israel. Although I would support the idea of telling the Israelis and the Palestinians, look, all your land is ours now, we're turning you into the 51st state, and we will administrate it generally, and, sorry, but, you lost your chance. We're taking this over now. It's ours. We're going to station troops here, you will disarm, and you will stop perturbing one another. Be really, really good for the economy, by the way. The only way to end it. Yes, exactly, John Lincoln. The only way to end the war between Israel and Palestine is for a foreign power to take them both over and consolidate them. It doesn't matter which foreign power it is. But if it's going to happen, and it looks like it's going to, it might as well be the United States because we can administrate it more easily. The amount of investment in Gaza alone, by the way, would bring in a substantial proceed. Instead of giving hundreds of billions of dollars to the region, we fund Israel's military, we also fund Gaza's, humanitarian aid. Instead of doing that, why don't we have private investors move in and create an economy that hopefully appeases people enough so that, there are no more problems? Will you still see sectarian violence? Yes, but if the U.S. Marines are there, I think it'll be kept to a bare minimum. Yes, there's oil off of the coast of Gaza, too. So, we inherit that. We get oil, we get minerals, we get tourism, we get a territory, and, make a massive-ass military base right in the middle of it so nobody will fuck with us. What's wrong with the proposal? This is more realistic than most of the other proposals I see. Some people are proposing, well, just abandon Israel. That's not going to happen, though. You know that it's not going to happen. There are too many AIPAC members in Congress. So that's off the table. It's just not pragmatic, even if you support it. Some people say we should march in and we should support Palestine. That's not going to happen either, for the same obvious reason. Some people say, well, we'll go gung-ho for Israel, let them overrun the Palestinians and take over all the land. That's a humanitarian crisis of epic proportions that will directly affect us diplomatically and lessen our influence on the world scale, especially with Europe. So, basically, the best possible alternative is to combine Israel and Palestine into a territory and simply take it over. And I don't think, by the way, the Israelis would begin lobbing nukes at the United States. I don't think that they have the technology to do so, and I don't think that they would care to do so. Actually, if anything, they'd probably be thanking the United States at that point. We could add Jordan into the mix, too. I mean, who's going to stop us? Any nation capable of actually confronting us on the battlefield is a nuclear state. Two nuclear states can't really generally go to war, unless apparently you're India and Pakistan, in which case you're crazy enough to do it. The Emperor's champion, I would only be okay with taking control of the Levant if the people living there have to stay there. I don't want crazy people moving here. Well, it'd be a territorial possession. Basically an administrative non-state. The idea is, look, you two clearly can't get along, so we're going to make you cohabit under peaceful conditions generally long enough so that hopefully your blood feud goes away. And then once, the craziness dies down, then we can talk about, true territorial status or something. And it's a very small area of land, so occupying it wouldn't be on the same order of expense as trying to patrol all of Afghanistan or something like that. And smaller than most U.S. states, to be clear, so it wouldn't really be a problem. And we can make the British pay for it. They'll say, well, you're the ones that carved up Transjordan, back in the day. Why don't you pay for our bills in administering this? Otherwise, the British will probably move in themselves. They might reassert their hegemony over the region or something. That would be, under the current administration, quite disastrous. Jeremy Martin, mask on the chair. I started that nameless group. This can be verified. I want to share a controversial related image. Send me a Discord. I don't use Discord. Yeah. I remember Anonymous back when it actually meant something. Now it's a bunch of communists who occasionally hack a website. So it's a little bit different. Jenny. Just had a huge argument with my boyfriend about the stupid strip of sand in the Middle East. Why the fuck should I care what that foaming at the mouth war tribe wants? They have a warring mental problem. It's about location. This is the problem. Israel, Palestine, Jordan, that general region is right at the crux of three major trade networks from Europe, Asia, and Africa. As such, people have fought over it for a very long time. The entire Levant, all the way to Iraq, actually. That entire region, over and over and over again, has switched hands. The only time in which it's stable is when a much larger foreign empire has marched in and established hegemony. So you would think the Assyrians, the Greeks, the Romans, the Egyptians, and several dozen others, by the way. In those moments, the Ottomans, in those moments, the area is actually peaceful, but that's because it's being controlled from the outside. It's incapable of interiorly controlling because of its location. It's simply in the wrong place. This is why we call it the Holy Land, because it's full of holes, namely craters from all the missiles that have exploded. Thank you for making a lot of noise out there while I'm live streaming. Just saying. Yeah, we are in America. We have no interest in going to war for Israel. Exactly. I don't believe in that either. I think we should issue them an ultimatum. I think that we should say to Israel and Palestine, look, we're coming over there. We're going to sort things out. There will be no dividing of the nation. We now own you. And there's nothing you can do about it because you're not capable of materially fighting us. We can park 10 aircraft carriers off of your shores and bombard you into submission as much as we want. So it would be best to simply bend knee, and we will safeguard both the Israelis and the Palestinians. And we will make sure that people stop dying all the time. Because countries will be small enough so that we can simply park U.S. Army soldiers on every street corner. It's possible for us to do because we have manpower in the hundreds of thousands range. Harrison Bergeron, I call it the Holy Land because it's full of a-holes. Yeah, I call it the Holy Land because it's full of craters. Yes, T. Morris, noticing. Yes, that's the reason why this will not happen, unfortunately. If the United States were run by independent thinkers, we already probably would have conquered the entire region. And it would be pretty much bloodless, because I can't imagine that the average Israeli and the average Palestinian would be averse to the concept of having a unity government that safeguards them against constant attack one side to the other. I can't imagine that they would have a huge problem with it. Over easy mode. You don't know the Jews. Actually, I do know several Jews. Yeah, the Jew tunnels in New York, that was a weird that was a little bit bizarre. Well, more than a little bit bizarre. You had that one video where the Orthodox Jewish dude is climbing out of the tunnel. Now, supposedly, it was for, young Jewish males to, I guess, spy on the girls bathing or something. That was the excuse that they made up. I don't think so. Because the dude that crawled out of the tunnels, he didn't look like a teenager to me. He looked a little bit older than that. He was still in the tunnels. I don't know what the fuck was going on, but I have a feeling it wasn't particularly good. Anyways, I'll be right back, and then I'll wrap up the show. I've got to go to the bathroom pretty badly, so it happens all the time. I can get my water in. Tunnel Jews. One of the funniest and most bizarre things that I've seen in my entire life. I'll be right back. All right, I have returned. No, that was not a number two. That was a number one, actually. But yeah, we've got a Papal Conclave update as well. More black smoke, so they still haven't chosen a new pontiff for the Romanist Church. He shits in a bowl instead of a box, though. That's what makes him libertarian. James Jones, TMI. Everyone pees, you know. You go to the bathroom, you take a piss. Everyone shits too. Everyone pisses, shits, and dies, so, you know, these are not verboten issues. Not on this channel, anyway. I will talk about piss all I want. Lunar Eclipse. Sticks, how does your plan work without ethnic cleansing? I don't want boots on the ground. Trump has echoed some of your plan. You wouldn't need ethnic cleansing. Once you have troops in the area, it would be fairly easy to establish order. It's been done before. Other empires have done the same sort of thing. King of Biltong, we stream live at 5:15 p.m. Eastern every Friday, directly after Viva, doing some light banter whilst cooking great food live. Join us for the fun on our channel, rumble.com/c/eat@Anton's. Yeah. My prediction is that the next pope will be more conservative than the prior. That won't be hard, by the way, to do, since he literally called himself a Marxist at one point, but will also be social media savvy, probably younger-ish. I mean, by Catholic Church standards, that's in your 70s usually, but that's what I predict. I predict that the Catholic Church, because it is a business entity first and foremost, they want to do more public outreach. That's why they chose Francis. The world was lurching to the left, and they wanted to appease the leftoids and draw them into the church to get their money, basically, to swell their numbers. It did not entirely work. What they found instead was that they hemorrhaged people that were more conservative. So you're looking for an individual who will be more of a centrist character, maybe not Italian, could be outreach to some other area in the world, maybe Africa, actually. It could be. It looks like a Filipino individual might actually become the next pope, which is hilarious. It would be quite funny to me. And it's clear pandering. But the Catholic Church is slowly dying anyway. And that's because they've literally transmogrified their traditions so many times that people who are intelligent are looking at that and saying, oh, well, God changes his mind an awful lot now, doesn't he? And so if they take the religion seriously, it becomes more and more hard to take the Catholic Church seriously. Copium poppies, that's a lie. A new pope was already picked. It's us. We called dibs. Any pope they lick that isn't copium poppies is a false prophet. Pick, not lick. Yeah, and I mean, Donald Trump is, the president of the United States is trolling the Catholic Church at the moment. Let that sink in. I don't have any problem with Christianity, but I do have a problem with ritualism, as you may have noticed. That sort of organized structure is usually misused, not used for a benevolent purpose. King of Biltong, try a range of functional red teas infused with functional ingredients to help you through the day. Available on BiltongUSA.com. Use code STICKS for 10% off your tea purchases. Thankfully, due to Anton, the other night, I actually drank a shit ton of chamomile and slept like a baby. Apparently, there's a prophecy of the popes that says that the final pope should be coming any time now, so we're gonna see exactly what happens. Be funny if they did choose a black pope for African outreach. All of the Orthodox Catholics would immediately throw their hands up and go onto the rooftops thinking the end times were there, especially if he happens to choose the name Peter II. Popeye the Fish Hat Man. Phallus in Wonderland. What? Yes, I have strong spiritual beliefs. And I don't care whether there's a god or gods or some cosmic force or not, because it can't be fathomed if it does exist anyway. So I stick to spirituality. But organized religion, as opposed to disorganized religion, you get together with a bunch of other people and you're praying your conscience and stuff. That's good. That's what Jesus would have wanted, by the way. But organized religion in the stained glass sense is clearly averse to the actual teachings of Christendom. Very interesting. Yeah, it would be funny if they put a bunch of marijuana into the smoker, and then everyone's like, choking as all the cardinals are getting high. That would be funny as hell. Love Doge. It is chamomile tea. I grow my own chamomile too, and it's hella powerful, by the way. Unfortunately, my body builds up tolerance to the sedative effects of chamomile very quickly, so I can only use it once in a while. On those times, I get a good night's sleep. Mostly, I suffer from severe insomnia. Copium Puppies. Well, the lyrics for our EP would sure be fitting if we end up being the last pope. The entire album has a dystopian end of the world theme. That sounds like my sort of album. I hope that you're going to release it on vinyl. Anyways, I'm going to let everyone go now. I've got to go and docket some news, although I've got quite a bit already in the docket, honestly. I'm going to go docket some news, and I've got to get some more soup ingredients, actually. That's about all.